I got to a point, where I thought most of my life that I was really managing my anxiety and these things. But I found that they were actually suffocating me. And I got to the point where the weight of the world was literally like crushing me. I felt like I was breathing through a straw every day. I was constantly taking deep breaths and just trying to understand, like, why do I feel like I can't breathe? I felt like I needed an oxygen mask.
You're listening to the Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives. And here is your host, Damon Frank.
Welcome back to the Recovered Life Show. I am pleased to be joined today by April Daniels. April Daniels helps people live a better life and empower themselves through using essential oils. Welcome to the show, April.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Really excited to have you. Thrilled to have you, actually, because I know a lot of people in recovery talk about essential oils, the benefit of essential oils. We'd had a conversation. I was telling you my experience with essential oils, how they really worked, especially with anxiety. And I'm glad to have you on the show today because I want to kind of dive deep into what are these essential oils doing? How does it work? What's the whole mystery behind them? Because it is a bit mysterious. People will talk about them as being like, oh, this totally saved my life. Other people are like, yeah, I tried it once. It was kind of good, but I didn't really understand how it worked. And I know you have a really amazing story about recovery, your own personal recovery, and then also how you got into essential oils.
Yes, thank you. So I think first and foremost, the most important thing that you can know about essential oils is that not all essential oils are created equal. Quality, purity, testing, that all matters because the industry isn't really regulated by, there's not really an industry standard. So it's really important that whatever oil it is that you choose to go with, you make sure that, you can go back to the source of where that oil was created and, ensure its potency.
Now, April, how did you get into this? I mean, I know you have a recovery journey. Can you share that with us and how you kind of stumbled upon essential oils?
Yeah, so I actually had spent most of my adult life trying to recover from childhood. I am ACOA, I have severe anxiety disorder, I'm codependent or in recovery for codependency. And so I really was just struggling. I got to a point, where I thought most of my life that I was really managing my anxiety and these things. But I found that they were actually suffocating me. And I got to the point where the weight of the world was literally like crushing me. I felt like I was breathing through a straw every day. I was constantly taking deep breaths and just trying to understand, like, why do I feel like I can't breathe? I felt like I needed an oxygen mask. And I had been to therapy, and which is great. Everybody, highly recommend therapy. Everybody should go to therapy. But, I was just really struggling with, going to the doctor and medication after medication, and those medications caused other side effects, which caused more medications. And I was just desperate. My family was being impacted by the way that I was responding to them on a daily basis. And so I got to the point where I really just didn't want to be in the world anymore. Like I really just didn't know how to function. And so out of desperation, I had a childhood friend whose son had been diagnosed with cancer. And I was watching her use essential oils with her son to have him thrive through his cancer treatment. And so I just reached out and was like, is there anything that you can do to help me? And so she gave me some suggestions and some different protocols that I could use and I could try. And essential oils are much like medication. You try something, it doesn't work. You try something else, you tweak it until you find something that works with your unique body chemistry. And so as I kind of started down this journey, I found a couple of protocols that I got very intentional with using on a consistent basis. And after about 3 weeks, my husband walked up to me and he gave me a big hug and said, it's really nice to have you talking to me and not at me. It was to the point where I would flip out if he, took the garbage out and didn't put the bag in before he came back inside from emptying the garbage. I was not in a good space. So having him recognize that I had kind of turned that corner kind of just melted me into a puddle. And I realized how impactful my reactions and my anxiety was impacting my family. It was actually really emotional.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to a lot of people that are in recovery, and most of them would say that they've struggled with some sort of anxiety issue, right? Whether it was early sobriety or throughout their sobriety. And I've noticed just with my own life, when I started to kind of mess around with essential oils, it was just a family friend who recommended them. It's like, hey, you could really use this, and it will kind of chill you out a little bit more. And I was applying all the things that people tell you to do to reduce your anxiety. And it's not that they weren't working. They were working, and those are great things. And, it worked to a certain degree, but there was an ability of, especially when I was at home, just to be able to kind of turn my brain off a little bit and just relax and be okay. And I found that by using the essential oils, certain types of essential oils, and just that in the little aroma thing that comes out, I forgot the name of it. The diffuser, yeah. That I would find myself being able to like longer and longer periods of time. It was kind of like meditation. It was kind of like, as I started to use it, and I started to kind of figure out that it was the actual sense of it, right? It was that I would smell it. It would be able to kind of take me to kind of anchor to a place where I felt a little bit more serene.
Yes.
And okay. I mean, and that sounded a little weird when I told people about that, at a local 12-step meeting. They thought that was a little strange, but a bunch of people were there that also had used it as well, that had done that. How does that work actually? Do you have to find the right thing to diffuse?
So I think there's a lot of different options out there. The great thing about essential oils is that there's 1,000,000 to 1 uses for one oil, right? So if you take Copaiba, for example, it's a really great anti-inflammatory, but it's also really good for reducing your anxiety. So it helps you manage pain while also helping you reduce your anxiety. And, if somebody has pain, but they don't have anxiety, they actually get kind of a dual benefit without even realizing that they needed that, right? Essential oils are really like plant extracts, right? So they not only support the plant and helping the plant thrive, but when we extract them and they come from an environment where the plant is thriving, they can be really potent and powerful for you to apply to your own body. So when you're talking about like diffusing essential oils, people always say it sounds kind of hokey, right? Because you're like, oh, what is this? What is this woo-woo stuff that people are talking about? They're going to breathe it in. But I go back to, it's important what you're actually diffusing, because if you buy something from, let's say, a box store, you read the back of that bottle and it's going to tell you not to apply it topically. And you have to consider, why would I put something on my skin that I can't, why would I breathe in something I can't put on my skin, right?
Yeah.
So it's really important that you're looking at that information. But the way the aromatic stuff work is actually through your olfactory nerve in like right above the bridge of your nose. So when you kind of look at that, it's like anesthesia almost. So if you go to have surgery or something like that, and they put that mask on you, you can count backwards from 10, and most of us are out before it even hits 5. And it's because of smelling those synthetic compounds. The way that your brain responds is to immediately shut everything down. So you can also think, if you smell a certain smell, you can be back in a childhood memory, right? There are things that are triggered through that olfactory sensory through your body and send signals throughout your body to respond a particular way. So when you diffuse an oil that is meant to bring a calming effect, it's going to hit your senses and tell your brain, hey, everything's okay. Let's bring the body down a little bit. But they're really powerful. And I actually use them aromatically, topically, brand specific. You can even use them internally if it's safe to do so.
Yeah. It's interesting because we talk a lot about on the Recovered Life show about neuroscience, and we've had a lot of clubhouse events about neuroscience. We have one every week, actually. We talk about how in recovery, we're creating these new brain patterns, right? We're creating these new neural pathways, and they're going down. Yes. And, and I think it's important to, for people that are listening to this, is that, we're not claiming here, and I'm not claiming, you're not claiming that essential oils cure anything really.
No.
And because I don't really believe that they do necessarily, but what I believe is that it's a gateway to get down that neural pathway quicker. Because how I used it, for example, is sometimes I would be a little ADD when I would start to work, my mind would be racing.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about how I'd use this like kind of orange essential oil that kind of made me a little bit more aware. It was very weird. But what I realized is I was in my life, I was practicing becoming more aware and present when I was working, right? Really like not multitasking. So as I'm practicing that and I'm using that essential oil, when I smell that or when I sense that or when it's on my skin or whatever, I do kind of go to that place much quicker. It is very strange how that works.
Yes, our brain is a really amazing thing, right? So essential oils are really, think of it as something you've hired to do a job for you, because that's really what it is. It's something that you're bringing into your life to do something for you. And we can use them for everything from pain to anxiety to allergies to asthma to, I mean, there's a million different ways that you can use them. But it's rewiring some of those neural pathways when you're having a triggered attack, right? Like if you have a situation that triggers you, I was in Target and a mom raised her voice at her son, and I kind of just shrunk down into a shell of myself, and I felt myself like, where's the nearest exit? I got to get out of here. And I realized, wait a second, you are responding to something that has absolutely zero to do with you because of the way that mom is speaking to her child. And it made you uncomfortable for whatever reason, I have internally. So I pulled out the essential oils that I had in my purse, and I kind of walked away and found a small spot where I could apply them and just kind of smell my wrists and bring myself down a second. So instead of running to the exit and not completing what I had set out to do that day, I was able to rewire myself to say, okay, we're okay. You're safe. You're strong. You can totally do this. And we're going to move on with our day. We're going to move past the way that we're feeling right now. And the essential oils really were able to give me the tool that I needed to feel empowered to make that choice. And when you're really intentional with using them, you can find that they actually are something that you want to incorporate into your everyday life because they make such a huge difference in the way that you're responding or the way that you're emotionally reacting. So it's really meant to support you. It's not going to cure you, but it is there to support you through whatever journey that is.
Yeah, it's, I think the whole conversation about anxiety being triggered and recovery, especially early recovery, right? Like, so there are people that listen to the show that are new, they're in their first 30 days, their first year, right? And they're going through a lot of things. Like we were just, we had a show the other day, we were talking about holidays and different things that are coming up and about how, if this is your first year that you're in recovery, if you've just realized this year that you're codependent, your life is, a shambles, and you're working on these issues, it's so easy to be triggered. And especially, with alcoholism and drug addiction and recovery and that relapse and everything else, and the ability to really to use the essential oils to get back to a place where you feel okay, right? To just start anew, to hit that reset button, which we talk a lot, right? Yeah, just hitting that reset button. April, can you share with us some really kind of expert tips here about what are the different essential oils? What are a couple different essential oils? And how can they be used to kind of hit that reset button for different events?
Absolutely. So you talked a little bit about orange, right? So wild orange is absolutely one of my most favorite oils. I challenge anybody who smells a bottle of wild orange to not smile when they smell that. It's just a bottle. It's like a little bottle of sunshine. Like you open it up and you just feel like, oh, it's so bright and refreshing. So it's refreshing, but it uplifts your spirit, right? It's bringing you that uplifting emotion that you really need. But fun fact, the essential oil is actually the oil of abundance. So people use essential oils to, manifest other things, right? If they're meditating and they're looking for, bringing abundance to their life, they will use an orange essential oil to do that. Melissa is an amazing essential oil because it's actually the oil of light. So one thing I don't think that we talk enough about is how essential oils are directly related to emotions and how they can really help you work through a lot of emotional baggage. At least for me, it was a huge thing. It's this oil of light. I would put a drop of Melissa under my tongue and I could emotionally reset kind of where I was going. Or holy basil, you open that bottle and that's what it's known for, is an emotional reset. But it has all of these other properties to it that are really going to, help you bring down that overwhelm, that feeling of anxiety, that feeling like I'm frozen, right? And it's going to help you kind of push through those feelings. I think one of my very favorite oils is Copaiba, or maybe Copaiba, depending on how people announce it and the accent that they have. But this is an amazing oil because it actually is like the CBD of essential oils. It's got a lot of the same properties as like a CBD oil would have. But it's for pain, it's for inflammation, it can help you sleep, it's for anxiety. I have a customer that actually was really in a lot of pain, had a huge injury, and she was working through a lot of emotional pain at the same time. And she started using the Copaiba on a daily basis. And after 3 months was able to actually wean herself off of, other things that she was doing to try and self-medicate that. So it's a really powerful oil. Peppermint is a really great example. It's one that's out there everywhere, right? From everything from being anti-inflammatory, antifungal, headaches, earaches. It actually can help with cravings. So there are certain cravings that peppermint oil can help you kind of try and work through. It's really good if you are experiencing tension or digestion issues. I mean, the amount of things that this one bottle of peppermint can do is really, really amazing.
Now, what about lavender? Because that was my first, introduction into essential oils, the first essential oil that I bought, and the first experience that I had where it actually worked, because I was one of those people that were like, oh, this is just absolutely crazy. I think that this is kind of stupid, honestly. I mean, that was really my dialogue. And I was in Ojai actually for a weekend, and the whole resort was around lavender, right? And I had suffered from anxiety for a long period of time, most of my sobriety, most of my life. And it was an ongoing journey to try to get out of that anxiety, right? And that was in the middle of this when I was starting to try to get out of it. And I remember sitting at this resort, and the resort helped because it was a different space and it was beautiful. But I remember this treatment that they did with lavender, and I was like, wow, I feel really good right now. Like I feel like emotionally, like when you talk about emotional pain, anxiety anxiety fuels emotional pain, right?
Yes.
And I remember that experience of just feeling okay. Like I'm feeling like, hey, it's cool. Like in the here and now, everything is fine. And I remember that lavender smell and the sensation of that.
Yeah, lavender is an amazing oil because most of us think of lavender only as related to sleep, or, it's going to make you sleepy. A lot of people can be afraid that, if I use lavender, I'm going to be sleepy, right? And that's not really the case. The amazing thing about essential oils is your body is going to apply the pure oil to where your body needs it to be, right? So if your body's feeling overtired and you apply a lavender, it might help you calm down to where you can feel a little bit sleepy. But lavender is actually really great for minimizing the effects of stress. It's really good for pain. It's actually excellent for bug bites. It can help support pain with ear infections. It's good for sleep. And fun fact, it actually used to be, way back in the olden days, a cleaning agent that hospitals use to clean, because it just has all of these amazing properties to it. So when I'm feeling overly stressed, you can actually sit and just put like a drop of essential oil in your hand and rub your hands together, cup your hands over your face, and really kind of go into more of a meditation state where you just take some deep breaths and let that lavender de-stress you and bring that tightness, loosen that down, bring that calming feeling. And all the while, if you're in pain, you can apply it to your pain and your bug bites while you're at it.
Absolutely. I know that a lot of people are listening to this that are maybe new to this topic, right? And so they're listening to this. And one of the common, I think, misconceptions of essential oils in recovery is that people, especially that are recovering from drug and alcohol addiction, they hear about CBD, they hear about all the such, and obviously that's a no-no, right? Like And there's a feeling, it's like, well, if I use this orange peel, and I put it in the diffuser, is that going to make me high? Is that going to
Right.
change my emotional state? Yeah, it could change your emotional state. But just to clarify, like a lavender essential oil is not going to make anybody high or anything like that. And there's a lot of people that are afraid of that.
Right. And there's no like nutrition or anything in an essential oil that is actually going to usually interact with like medications and things like that, because it really is a constituent that is meant for your body to absorb and apply where needed. Right. So I think people get afraid that they're using some sort of foreign substance out there, and it's really something that has been put on here to support the plants, right? The plants need those essential oils to thrive. And when we extract those oils and we apply them to ourselves, it allows our body to thrive as well. So when you're afraid of, that altering your state, you don't want to use CBDs or things like that. This is a purely natural oil. And so it has no side effects. It's actually really quite affordable, and more affordable in a lot of cases than conventional medicine can be. And it's safe for everybody. It's safe for you. It's safe for me. It's safe for our kids if properly diluted. It can, even in some cases, essential oils can be safe for your pets. So, a lot of people, I hear that too. People are afraid, well, I have a dog and I don't want to diffuse lavender because my dog might not like it. Well, there are ways to see if your dog likes it. And my dad's dog loves lavender and will run to you when you open the bottle. So I think it just really depends on what your body's needing, and, listening to that, right? And listening to how you're responding to that oil. And one thing that I struggled with when I first started using them was the emotional properties of it. I didn't know, nobody told me that essential oils could have an effect on your emotions, right? And not in a negative way, but in a way that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting for them to help me work through some of that baggage and some of those trauma things, and giving me the tool to be able to remove my trigger, remove my trauma to the point where that I could see it more objectively and really work through it. It just brought me a sense of belonging, I guess. And it really empowered me that I was able to work through this, and that I had the strength to keep moving through and heal and gain hope.
Yeah. And I like how you put this, because it is definitely just it's a tool, but it's not the whole thing, right? Like,
right.
You're not going to just be able to, put it in the diffuser and it's going to solve all your problems. That's not really what we're saying, right? It's a tool to help you get to where you want to go. Right. And just like I always say, just like a good pair of running shoes, if you're a jogger, right. It helps you, it'll help you get down your journey a little bit more enjoyable process.
Every day is different, right? And every situation you encounter is different. Everybody's going to process things in a different way. So it's really important that you're thinking of this as like an arsenal, right? You have this arsenal that's in your bathroom, that's in your bedroom, that's in your kitchen, that when something happens, you can just pull this out and say, I'm going to use this. And it's going to help me kind of realign where I'm at, right? Where it's not going to fix you. It's not going to take it away. It's not going to, it's not a magic, right? It's not going to magically solve all of your problems, but it is going to give you another tool in your toolbox that you can use in conjunction with all of the other tools that you've learned along the way, and really maybe enhance some of those other skill sets that you've used, and allow you to tap into what those things are. Like, balance is a really great oil to help you meditate. It's a grounding oil. It brings balance to your soul, right? So using things like that to help you kind of realign is really important, I think. And just another thing that we can do to help support ourselves in this journey, because it's hard enough on its own, right? Working through all of these things is hard enough. And then you read books and you get help, and you do all of the things to try and help yourself cope. And so what do you do when it's 2:00 in the morning and you're tossing and turning and you can't sleep? I felt really empowered by the fact that I knew that I could grab, cedarwood or lavender or serenity and apply that and feel calm and go back to sleep. And I didn't sit up for hours the rest of the night and ruin the whole next day. There's something to be said for having something sitting in your pocket that you can just use.
Really great advice, April. If people want to know more about essential oils and more about you, how can they reach you? Do you have a website that they can find out more information?
I do. I have a website. If you go to bit.ly/April Daniels, you will be taken to my website. And I'm also on Instagram, which you can find my link for my Instagram on my website.
Excellent. We're also going to put we have a full profile of April on Recovered Life, so you can get access to all of her links, social links and websites there as well as some other information on her. So thank you so much, April, for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Keep the conversation going. Join Recovered Life, a community of like-minded people who are looking to live their best recovered lives. Membership is free, and you can apply at recoveredlife.us.